The year 2020 is one that none of us will soon forget. We've seen heartbreak, suffered loss, grieved for our loved ones, and questioned our very existence. This pandemic has seen over 1.7 million people lose their lives. Nearly 100,000 establishments temporarily shut down due to this pandemic are now out of business permanently. The rate of depression in the US and around the world has tripled due to COVID-19. The fact is, people are hurting. Despite all the negative around us, over 800,000 people took a leap of faith and started a business. 140 million babies were born. Over 60 million couples said, "I do." Whatever the year 2020 meant for you, the fact is that it's over and you are still here. What a blessing. The one thing that is separating what you have from what you want is your focus. What you focus on is what you will experience in life. I invite you to embark on a journey with me. I invite you to take hold of your future. Face your fears. Embrace the opportunity in every obstacle. Develop a kingdom mindset. Usurp the playing field and turn every stumbling stone into a stepping stone. It's time to shift into focus. Are you ready? The time is now. The year 2020 for many people was a disaster. A year filled with catastrophic, unfortunate events coupled with disease and death. For many others, it was a year of gift and blessing and favor. Despite what the year 2020 meant for you, the fact is today, if you're under the sound of my voice, you have made it to a new year. And to you I say, Happy New Year. Join me today as we shift into focus. I am joined today by the illustrious, the incandescent Simmone Bowe. I call her queen, and it is truly a pleasure to be joined by Simmone today as we talk about facing your fear. Simmone, welcome to Shift into Focus.
Thank you so much, King Ahmad. It is good to be here.
Indeed. Simmone, where in your opinion does fear come from?
It comes from, I believe, deep within the heart and minds of people. And it is actually a very natural emotion. It's an emotion that indicates to us when there is impending danger. So fear has a very real and necessary place in our lives. But it's when it gets a bit out of control that we have issues with fear.
Indeed. Fear is something that we are born with, right? It's to your point, it's a construct that is necessary to keep us aware of our surroundings. Exactly. When you think of the term fear, people often think, Simmone, the thing they fear most has the power. I believe, however, it's the fear itself that has the power over you. What are your thoughts on that?
I think you're absolutely right. It is really the thoughts. And this is when I mentioned fear getting out of control. Because we as human beings, we are very imaginative, right? We are creatures of creativity and creation. And so our minds have this ability of creating stories, narratives, pictures that it really appears to be real.
Indeed.
And so it is really the power of our imagining of what we think could happen, what we think the fear will do, what we think the consequences would be of a particular action that is debilitating.
Indeed.
Not the actual thing
that we're fearful of.
Exactly right.
We are 60 seconds in, and we've already had like 10,000 pounds of wisdom just now. It's not what you fear that has the power, it's the fear itself that has the power. Simmone has mentioned to us that in moments when we have given the fear itself the power, we lose control of it. It becomes bigger than us. It becomes more than just a natural fight or flight type of situation. It's actually taking over us. When you think of fear and you think of what you have allowed yourself to be fearful of, I want you to ask yourself the question, what is the one thing that you can change today that will change everything else forever? Do you believe that fear paralyzes people?
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, well, fear keeps you stuck. So when you operate in fear and you allow fear to take control, you will not take action. That's the bottom line.
Indeed.
And that is what makes it paralyzing, right? You stop moving. So when you talk about fight or flight, for instance, you either come out aggressively and I'm taking no prisoners, or you fully retreat. And so when you are so afraid, you stop because you feel like, if I go forward, this is going to happen. And so I'm safe here. I'm frustrated.
Yes.
I'm uncomfortable. I know that there is more for me on the other side of the fear, but this fear, this thing. So when I hear people talk about, I'm shy, I don't speak in public, for instance, right? That's a big one. Or I don't do this or that.
I'm an introvert.
I'm an introvert. And we see that a lot happening, especially in this virtual space where people are in virtual meetings. So we see people hiding behind the camera, hiding behind the muted microphone. And you have to force people, open your mic, open your camera. They don't want to be seen. They're running from something. And what they end up doing is they assimilate that feeling to now become a part of who they are. And so they don't separate themselves from this feeling. I remember having a conversation with someone before who had some feelings of self-doubt that were very, very strong. And I told them, I said, you are not this feeling.
Wow.
And it was a revelation. You're not this feeling. Even though this feeling is in you, you are not it. It is not your identity. It is not who you are. So we have to, as human beings, be able to separate ourselves from the emotions that we feel, to kind of, people call it witnessing it, like being able to look at yourself in the third person kind of thing, to examine it. Socrates, I believe, said the unexamined life is not worth living.
My Lord. And the show, that's it. Goodness.
We have to be in a constant state of self-reflection and an emotional intelligence, self-awareness.
Indeed.
Understanding what is this that I'm feeling and why.
Yes. Simmone, you said something very important just now. I am not this feeling. I want you to take a moment and figure that out. Think about that for a minute. Whatever it is that you have been fearful of, whatever has been keeping you in your box, whether it's insecurity, whether it's judgment, whether it's fear of anxiety, whatever the thing is, I am not this feeling. Put that in the comments. What are you not? I am not my insecurity. I am not my weight loss journey. I am not the no to my job. Hello.
What?
Right? I am not this feeling, because you are not. Who you are has nothing to do with how you feel in this moment. What really does matter, though, is what you allow that feeling in the moment to do for the rest of your life. That's important, Simmone. I am not this feeling. I know, right?
Yes.
My gosh. Simmone, how has fear as a construct stifled or limited you in the past?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I have been stuck so many times in my life. I mean, I have funny fears. It's like people would laugh at me because of it and tease me about it. And then there are some deep fears that have really cost me. So a couple of my funny fears, I have what they call this fear of falling, which they say is the fear of heights, but they say it's actually the fear of falling. So I have a very serious fear of going onto balconies or anything high. Like, I'm not going to go.
Right.
And if I go, I'm not going near the edge. I'm not the person that's going to be leaning on the railing, looking down. No, I'm going to be that one on the wall like this. Like, seriously. I mean, I really have a fear of heights or fear of falling, fear of being pushed for whatever reason. It's very weird. And then I have this is kind of gross, but I have a fear of vomiting.
Okay.
Either me or anyone
Anybody
else.
Wow.
I mean, at the point where even if it happens in a movie, I am like covering everything. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it.
Wow.
I know where that comes from, though.
Okay.
As a little girl, I saw a woman vomiting on the side of a building.
Wow.
I could remember the song that was playing when that happened. I couldn't listen to that song anymore.
Because you associated the song with the act.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
That is
but
weird.
It's all mental.
But it's weird, but it's It's what fear does.
Correct.
And we're going to get to that in a minute because that's important to understand how, in a moment, the association with a thing gives that thing a power. When you have said to this, I cannot do this, I can't do this with you, or I can't be this with you, you've given this thing the power. But go ahead, tell us a bit more about your...
So those are the like funny, weird fears, right, that people would typically have. Then there's like nervous fear where if you have to perform or do something, speaking or singing, whatever, you have that thing that gives you that edge, but you learn to move past that.
Right.
Then I've had fears of not sharing my real feelings that cost me relationships.
Wow.
Significant relationships because I was afraid to say how I felt. I was afraid of being rejected.
Wow.
And then later, when you finally get the courage, it's too late. And you have now regret.
Indeed, you've allowed the fear, and this is not you, Simmone, have allowed, but generally speaking,
yes,
we have allowed the fear to cost us what could have been.
That's right.
Because who am I to say to someone, I feel this way, or I have an opinion on this matter?
Right. What if they don't feel that way about me?
What if they don't accept the opinion?
What if they don't accept it? But what if they do?
What if they do?
So when you're stuck now, you lose that opportunity. You have other fears of not negotiating properly. Like for instance, you go into job situations, interviews and things, and you're afraid to ask for what you really want.
Yes.
Or in your own business, and I've done this, where you're negotiating contracts and projects and you're lowballing yourself.
Yes.
Because you are afraid to ask for what. And the thing is, when you get the courage to do it, people are okay with it. They're like, okay, fine.
Yes.
Or they would negotiate, and that's the power of it. That's the part of it.
Indeed.
You know, so all through my life, all of those are examples of how fear has cost me tremendously.
You know, you said something just now where you mentioned that sometimes we don't go after what we want because we may seem unreasonable or too demanding or too anything. It's important that you understand that when you allow, and the word allow means to give way, give permission to. When you allow the thing to stifle your ability, to stifle your potential, you have given the person and that thing the power.
That's right.
You render yourself powerless because of what you think they may think by you saying what you think you shouldn't say. You thought plenty just now, but nothing actually happened except you're still where you once were.
That's right.
Right?
And then you have no one else to blame but yourself. And then when we get stuck in these limiting beliefs and limiting behaviors and patterns, then we, instead of taking personal responsibility, we begin to now project and blame. And we say, oh, it's this person's fault. Indeed. Or this, if this didn't happen, then I would be there. Why didn't that person ask me this? Then I would have told them. Come on.
Who else?
You have put the power outside of yourself.
Yet again. Even when we don't accept the fact that this was potentially I always tell clients, my staff, anywhere I go, any situation you find yourself in, always remember you are in the situation as well. Which means despite whatever who said what and who did what and what happened in the moment, you were there as well. And so you had a hand in whatever transpired. You had a role to play in whatever went right or whatever went wrong. And so giving someone the power to accept or to put this blame on them is just as dangerous as accepting the fact that the fear is stifling you, the fear is causing you not to move forward. That's a very important point.
It is.
Have you ever done something in spite of fear?
All the time. All of those examples that I gave you I'll give a very small example. So I had an invitation to speak virtually somewhere. And I'm learning just what you talked about of what we allow, right? We can't sit back and be frustrated about what people do if we don't create and express the standards and the boundaries and the values that we have. And so in my business, I am creating those standards and expressing those. So if there's a bio or a photo or any information that you need to get that from me. There's, steps to ensuring that I can perform for you, right? And there's a reason behind that. So what I find a lot of people do, for instance, and this is a very simple example, it may seem anal, but it's a good example. So what I find a lot of people like to do is they would cyber stalk you. They would go on your Facebook page. They would go on whatever, on Instagram, wherever, find what photo they like and put it on their flyer. Now, when you are positioning yourself as a professional and you are branding yourself a certain way, even though I may have pictures from 5-10 years ago on my Facebook page, it doesn't necessarily mean that I want that to be used now or for whatever purpose you're inviting me for. So I would have photos that I would use for those occasions. So when you invite me, I will say, and you ask me for a photo and I give you a photo, that's the photo that I want you to use. So long story short, I did this, and the person that invited me used the photo that they wanted to use.
Wow.
And I looked at the flyer. They sent me the flyer. The flyer is nice. The photo is nice, but it's not me. My hair isn't even that way anymore.
Wow.
I had locks. So this is a photo with me with my locks and all this other stuff. This is like a 4 or 5 year old photo. So I looked at that photo, that flyer, and I said, Simmone, what are you going to do now?
Yes.
What are you going to do? Are you going to sit back because you're afraid to say something, afraid of what they would think of you, afraid to offend? But I'm like, but they offended me.
Yes.
Because they crossed my boundary. I gave them what I wanted and they chose
To do something different.
to do something else.
Wow.
And so I pushed past that initial fear that I felt. What are you going to do in this situation? And I said, I love the flyer, but this is not the photo that I gave you.
Indeed.
They said, I know.
Oh, I'm aware.
I'm aware,
Indeed.
but this is what I wanted to use. I said, well, I gave you the photo that I gave you for a reason.
Yes.
And I would prefer if you used that photo.
Indeed.
And they changed it.
Indeed.
And that was the end of that. But I knew that if I didn't do that, if I didn't push through that fear, and that may seem like a very simple thing, but this is how fear takes over your life.
Correct.
Because you'll do it in small things and you'll do it in big things. As simple as asking for what you want.
Yes.
All of those things come out of fear. And it keeps you silent and it keeps you stuck.
Wow. Two things you mentioned just now. I want to talk to the audience very intently for a moment. In this life, nothing happens that you don't allow. No one under any circumstance can do anything to you that you don't want to happen in that moment. Whether you decide to speak up, to speak out, to argue, to express your opinion, to tell this person, I won't stand for this, is all on you. I can't go to my mom's house right now and curse. I'm a big grown man. And to this day, she would not allow me to do it. If she allowed me, I would. If your children are able to do what they want to in the house, it's because you allow them to. If your boss is able to demean you and degrade you, it's because you allow them to. If you allow yourself to disrespect yourself, it's because you in the moment allow yourself to do just that. I want you to, in this moment, take your power back. Type in the comments for me, I no longer allow it. I no longer allow it. It is on you. Whatever you decide in this moment to allow to happen, it's because you made the conscious choice to do so. This is not a time to cast blame or to make other people feel as though they're at fault for what you do or do not have. It's a choice that you have to make every single day. No one can do whatever you won't allow them to do to you. Never forget that. Simmone, it's January 3rd, 2021. We are in a new year. Can you believe it? First of all, we made it.
Okay.
Like, Shando, we are here, live and live in color. We made it. When you think of the fact that you made it to the year 2021, despite the year you would have had, whether you enjoyed it or not, do you think that you have faced fear? Is it that you're conquering? Is it that you're conquered fear, or is it a journey? Is it a destination, or is it a journey? Conquering fear, that is.
I think it's a journey, because just as the examples that I gave you, where you have very small examples, or they appear small, but they're big for the person that's feeling it. And then there are some big ones that we know that we need to conquer.
Yes.
I believe that we master, and this is where emotional intelligence comes into play, where we master the root of what is causing it, and we also master our response to it. But there will always be levels of fear in our lives, especially if we are progressive people and purposeful people. As you continue to advance and to stretch the limits of your potential, or the capacity, I should say, because our potential is limitless.
Yes.
So as we test the capacity that we have and we continue to advance, we will feel fear.
Wow.
There were opportunities that I had in 2020 to speak virtually around the world on platforms where I didn't feel qualified. But there were people there with tons of experience representing governments. And I'm like, how did this little
Yes.
girl from the islands get on this panel with these people? And so you have to push past, because this is the thing that you dream. This is the
Yes.
thing that you speak over your life and you say, prayed for.
Vision boarded this for the last however long. Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello. And so now that you're in it, you are on the platform, you are doing whatever it is that you have envisioned, and now you're walking it out. It's going to be scary.
Yes.
And I believe that's why we don't see it all at once. Because if we saw it all and we saw in between A and Z, we would stay right at A.
Right at it, yes. Right.
Because they'd be like, well, there's some situations at J
By Q,
and
I think.
Q, but hey, what? I ain't going that way. And so I think we just have to learn how to master our emotions and really, again, be self-aware. What is this that I'm feeling and why? To face the fear.
Yes.
To do it afraid. That's courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is doing it in spite of.
Absolutely.
There's nobody who I can tell. I mean, if you have a fearless person in this world, I don't know. Hats off to them.
Yes, yes.
But everybody feels some measure of fear that they have to move past. I think it is a very normal thing.
Indeed.
It's our response.
Yes. You mentioned earlier in an earlier question, you said that sometimes we don't have what we want because we didn't ask for it. We feared the ask. I went on a job interview recently and I got the job. The individual called me back and said, everything you asked for, you have. And I said, pardon? I couldn't believe it because we are taught never to, you shouldn't say this and you can't say that. And even in our businesses, Simmone, we say to some people, there are some things you should never say in an interview.
That's
or you should never make known. And the lady said to me, everything you asked for is yours. And I said, we're coming home to glory.
I should have been asking long time.
You know? Because even in the moment, I didn't really ask for what I wanted.
See there?
And it's like, had I gone for what I knew I should have gotten,
you would have gotten
or knew
that.
I should have asked for, because I wrote these things down, I declared them, Simmone, and they are now, this is one of the things that I declared.
There you
and
go.
it's right now happening, because sometimes you mentioned that we allow the fear and the thought of the fear to say, you have it, but you really don't deserve that. What you doing on the stage with these people? What you doing having a series? Who are you?
And they call that imposter syndrome.
Wow.
So
Imposter
you don't,
syndrome.
yeah, it's imposter syndrome, where you don't feel as if you measure up to the persona that you present to the public.
I don't really belong here. This is a trick.
I don't belong here.
This is the smoke. This is not really me.
Correct. And if people were to really dig in, then they'll know that this isn't, I'm
And
really not
and
legit.
the fear of them finding this out
Correct.
stifles me even more.
Absolutely, because you're not going to put yourself out there
Wow.
because I don't want to be found out.
Indeed. Another moment. I want you to type into the comments, I am not an imposter.
I belong here.
I belong here. Who you say you are is who you have to be, if you accept that. Right? I am not an imposter. I belong here. Wow. Simmone, this is amazing.
I did it one time. We went out to one of our gated communities here in New Providence, Bahamas. And I was just driving around trying to get to a gig because, I sing.
Yes, yes.
And as I was looking at these massive homes and massive buildings, and you could see the the elegance and the opulence and the luxury and everything. That was what I said as I was driving around, and this feeling came over me at first, and I was looking like, what is all of this, right? And then I said, I belong here.
Indeed.
Even though I may not live there, I can interact here. I can maneuver here. There's nothing strange about me being around this environment.
Wow.
That may not look like what I physically have in the moment, but I still belong here. My mind is here already. My heart is here already. So the rest of it just has to line up.
Yes, yes.
But I belong here.
Indeed. That's so powerful, because I believe we as a people, as a human race, we create our own boundaries. Yeah. We place the limits on ourselves. We say to ourselves, you can't, you won't, you shouldn't, you will never, why should you? Because somebody else may have whispered it in our ears for a few years, but we've allowed that to become our truth. When you think of people and them facing their fears, Simmone, how do you think, help our audience to understand how important it is to do that, to face your fear?
It is critical, because as human beings, one of our human needs is to self-actualize, right? That's like at the top of the pyramid, to become. That's really what it means. We want to get to a place of fulfillment, a place of contribution. We want to know that our life has meaning, and it does. We were all sent to this planet for purpose. We were sent to this planet as the solution to problems that exist on this planet. And unless we activate, the problems will continue. Unless we activate, there are people, there are causes that are hanging in the balance, waiting. Can you imagine the people that have been waiting for you to accept this assignment and to walk in it?
Wow.
The people whose consciousness, whose destinies will be shifted into focus because you said yes to this.
Yes.
And that's why if you had sat at home, got this divine download and said, but me?
Gotta be kidding.
Me?
My niece is saying, are you kidding?
Are you kidding me?
Wow.
Not me. Maybe later. Maybe when I achieve this.
Yes.
Maybe when I get this degree or this certification. Maybe when this happens or the next. Maybe when I get that dream job. Maybe when I get X amount in the bank.
Yes.
Maybe then I'll do it.
When I lose this 20 pounds.
Hey, Lord, do we have to go there? Right? But that's what we do. And so when we allow those fears to take over, then we stop. We are stuck.
Indeed.
We are paralyzed. And then it's not just about you at that point. It's not you cost yourself. Remember what I talked about? Fear costs you.
Yes.
There's a price that you pay when you allow fear to take over your life.
Wow.
And so you lose, and all of the people connected to you lose.
Wow.
The impact that you want to make. You know, a lot of us want to do great things because we want to help people. We want to do things for our family. When you are stuck, you don't do any of that.
Yes.
You are miserable, discontent, unfulfilled. And then, worse yet, somebody else picks up that mantle that you should have been running with.
My gosh.
The feeling that has. And that's happened to me too. I was like, wow, I had that idea.
That was me. I just had this.
And now if I come out with it, I could just look like a copycat. We don't want to live that kind of life, and life filled with regret and bitterness and frustration. That's why we see so many miserable people around the world. They are not walking in their calling. They're either making other people miserable because they may be living vicariously. These are the people that they want their children now to become.
Who they could not be. Who they decided not to become.
Exactly.
Wow.
So now my life, I feel, is over. So you need to finish my business?
Yes,
No. We all have our own lane. You can't put that on me. Even though I'm your child, you can't put that on me.
Yes.
I have my own lane. I have my own purpose.
Wow.
I can't live out the rest of your life. And this is why when people, when children leave the home or they retire from jobs, and they seem like they're undone. Like, what do I do now?
Yes, what's next?
What's next? Because they thought that their roles, their responsibilities, their preferences, whatever it is, they felt that was their purpose.
That those things define them.
Correct.
Wow.
You weren't born to just be a parent, a boss, a brother, a sister, or whoever. You have a higher calling.
Indeed.
And we need to tap in and get clear about what that is and begin to walk in that. And you have the power. I'm so glad that you said that, because this is why I don't like that word empowerment, because it implies that some grand facilitator can just hand this to you. Take my program.
Go and be great.
Right. Now you have all the power that you need to live. No. You were born with that power. It is about you activating that and walking in it.
Indeed. You know something? When we think of who we are as human beings, every single person on this planet, you included, was born with a purpose. Everyone has an assignment, a mission, something they were born to do and to affect. And there is no one person on this earth that can do what you have been born and called to do. You and I can do the very same thing, indeed, but you will never do it the way I can, and I will never do it the way you will. We are different people on different missions. And when you give somebody else the power to tell you that you shouldn't, you can't, you won't, you never could, you have given them the power to your life. You have said to them, you are the reason that I've been born. You can determine now what I do with that reason. No one on this earth can do what you have been born and purposed to do. It's up to you to accept that purpose. You mentioned, if I didn't accept this mission and this assignment, it happened so abruptly, and so I use the word funnily, because I was sitting in my bed at home and the Holy Spirit said to me, focus. And I said, okay, what you want me to focus on? And he said, no, focus. I need you to do something with the word focus. I said, okay, Simmone, I tell you in about 10 minutes, the Holy Spirit gave me the names of the persons to contact to be in this series with me. He gave me the topics. He gave me the company I should use, which by extension wasn't the company I should use. And then you gave me the magic in Fusion Media. Kudos and shout out to Fusion Media. But everything was so literally like, here you go. Take this and meet your purpose. Walk in your purpose. And there was never a moment initially where I said, why me? How come? Why now? But there were moments after I wrote it down and I looked at it, I was like, 2020? Like, people dying, people like losing their jobs, there's suffering, there's loss, there's grief. How do I celebrate at a time like this? And then the Holy Spirit said to me, now is when you celebrate. I need you to do it now for what's going to come by way of what you have been called to do. Someone somewhere is going to be affected so much by our conversations, their lives are going to be changed forever. Someone somewhere is waiting for you to accept your mission and to walk in your truest purpose. Today is that day. Do not hold the world hostage any longer. We need you to be magical today, to do your best work today, whether you have it figured out or not. I had no idea what it took to put on a series. Here I am on January 3rd, 2021, conducting a series with the fabulous Simmone Lauren Bowe, worldwide speaker. Come on, man. Just do it. Do it afraid. Start now. Do it today. Get up after the session and do it. Give me a few more minutes of your time and then do it. That's the power behind it, Simmone. Doing it even in the moments when you are fearful.
Yeah. And everything you need is already in existence. It's already in your life. Everything is waiting for you to activate.
Wow.
That's the power of this thing. And when you activate, when you move, even if it's a slight action, where you got this idea, okay, you wrote down you got names, okay. All of those are actions, you know.
Yes.
When you pick up the phone, you say, let me reach out to Simmone. That's an action. And then you know when it connects, And Simmone says, yes, when? Just tell me.
Yes.
I'm there.
Literally a response by the way. Like, what time, when, what date, where we could be, I'm coming.
Yes.
Wow.
No matter what.
Yes.
And my situation
Yes.
right now, I'm like on crutches and all of this other stuff. But I'm like, I'm not missing this. This is a destiny moment.
Yes.
And that's how we have to treat it. It's serious, and everything that we think that we're not going to have, everything that we think we're not ready for, it's there.
It's there. Wow.
The seasons of preparation, the seasons of isolation, the seasons of trial and error, all of those things are working together
Indeed.
for your good. For these, what we call those kairos moments, those moments of destiny, those moments, those set times of purpose, destiny colliding to here we are, this launching pad of whatever is next. Because of course, there's more after this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's how it is. And we just continue to occupy until ...
Yes. Yes.
Either he comes or we go.
Yes.
I mean, that's just the way it is.
Wow. So Simmone, how do you help people? Because there are people who are listening and watching us right now who have been told all their lives, you are nothing. You're just like you're no good. What you think this is? Who can listen to you? Why you? Ain't nobody like you enough. Nobody loves you. You're this, you're that. But they've told themselves, I can. But the voices around them, the people around them that love them most or should love them most, have told them they can't and they never would. What do you say to those people?
You're going to have to be prepared to go against the grain.
Wow.
And that's a very difficult thing. And that's another thing that keeps people stuck. How could I go against these people who are in my family, my loved ones? They must know. I mean, right? Because that's the power that we give them because we honor them. We love them.
Yes.
So they must have my best interests at heart. Not always. What people love, another human need is comfort.
Wow.
And the comfort zone is the enemy of success. And when you are on a path of change, things will change around you and you will change. And the people around you will also have to change to accommodate the unveiling of the true you.
Indeed.
Because I even am challenged by the word becoming because we really already are. It's an unveiling. It's a revealing. It's taking off all these layers that life has put on us, society and negative words and beliefs and everything else that's packed and squashed who we really are. So we have to be prepared to sometimes go it alone for a season. But when we are committed to our path, like-minded people are going to find you. You're going to connect with them and you will be supported and you will be loved. It may not be by the people you expected it to be, but you will be supported and you will be loved. You need to face the feelings that you have. Face those negative thoughts and belief systems because like it or not, it has shaped you. Consciously or unconsciously, you now are being controlled by whatever you believe.
Indeed.
And so you have to sit with yourself and really unpack those things. And sometimes you can do it on your own. Sometimes you may need support of a coach or a therapist, and there's no shame in that.
Indeed.
You need someone who is outside of you and what you're thinking to hold that mirror up and show you who you really are.
Who you really are. You know, you said something. You said the comfort zone is the enemy of success. That's a quote by Simmone L.
Yeah.
Okay? And a quote by Ahmad Rashad Thompson says, inaction is the enemy of progress. You have to understand that until you get out of what you consider comfortable, you will not reach your full level of success. Until you decide to take the step to move in the right direction, in the direction of your purpose, nothing can happen. There's no progress in inaction. You have to decide to move to get the thing done. When it is that you have spoken something into existence, because your words have power. Whether you believe that or not, whether you think I'm blowing smoke or not, it doesn't matter. Your words have power. In July of 2020, I wrote down 11 declarations. And I want you to know, Simmone, that by this time now, 9 out of those 11 declarations have come to pass.
Wow.
Because I decided I can write the words down, I can declare them every day, but until I decide to move in the direction of my purpose, nothing will happen. This was a declaration given to me in the form of the Holy Spirit giving me a download.
Instructions.
But at the end of the day, he said, this is what I want you to do, now move. Had I decided to say, you know what, I'm not ready for this just yet, this is too much, let me wait till next year when things can pick up and the world is in a different place. Someone would have missed what they're supposed to get out of this right now in this moment.
That's right.
You know? And I believe that when people decide that they have accepted the fact that their words have power, that's when things start to change.
Absolutely. And they'll see it change.
Yes.
They'll see their circles change. And a lot of times people feel like they have to have these massive confrontations
Yes.
and, okay, I'm deleting you and I'm blocking you and I unfriending you and I having this big argument. No, a lot of times it happens very organically.
Yes.
And silently and, people may not you just don't call anymore. You just don't talk. It's like a drifting
Yes.
that happens, and allow it to happen.
Naturally.
One of the things that I realized with change is, in order for us to get to a new beginning, in order for us to get to that vision, that thing that we see, it requires an ending.
Wow.
And so some of us fear the ending of things.
My Lord.
We fear the end of seasons.
Indeed.
We would make these declarations. This is the end of my broke season or whatever, right? But then when we get into money and we're still operating with a broke mind.
We squander it.
Right? So we have to embrace the ending and embrace the feelings that endings bring. Because I was chatting with someone who moved into a new home and they were feeling, conflicted. I should be grateful. This is a dream. This is right, a declaration that manifested.
Yes.
I'm living in this thing that I've always wanted. Why do I now feel isolated, alone, right? But that's okay, because now what has ended was that season of being around people who you were living with before, a neighborhood. It's familiar. Right? We go down road where we know every pothole.
Yes.
We know every twist, every turn. We know we could move and maneuver in this space without the lights on even, because I know where everything is.
Yes.
There's comfort in that. Now I'm in this new thing. This is what I've always wanted. Why am I feeling low and down when this should be my happy celebration time? Feel those feelings. Yes, you have detached from a season. And that's grief.
Indeed.
And that's loss, even in a great thing.
Yes.
And so we have to validate the feelings that we have and acknowledge that feelings are real and that feelings are normal. We just need to process them. We just need to understand them so that we know their place in our lives.
Indeed.
They're indicators, but they don't define us.
Indeed. So, Simmone, you and I have spoken a lot about self-awareness and understanding who you are as a person. I truly believe that is a great deal of understanding which fear to face and how to face it depends or is determined by who you say you are. Being self-aware is not a thing. Like, it doesn't just happen on Tuesday. I'm self-aware now. I am good to go. Every day you become a newer version of yourself, especially when you start to face your affairs, because you realize I could have done this 10 years ago, but now I'm realizing my strength. I'm finding my voice. I'm speaking my own truth. How important is it to know who you are, first of all, and then who does Simmone Lauren Bowe say that she is?
Oh my goodness. So identity is critical. It's critical to our journeys in life. We have to know who we are at our core, our authentic self, not what someone thinks you should be or their opinion of you or their expectations of you. And these are some of the traps that we get caught in. Sometimes we get caught up just by our our name, our last name, our family name.
Yes, yes.
You know, and because you have this name, then this defines you. It has a part to play, but it isn't the end all and the be all.
Yes.
And this is why sometimes when people call it midlife crisis or whatever, like people flip out and just, it's really like you talked about, people finding their voice. They're finally embracing who they are inside, what they feel, what their values are, what's important to them, what excites them, what makes them come alive. All of those things are part and parcel of who you are. And this is critical because everything you do, I love to say this is another Simmone L, so I don't want to hear this nowhere else. But your do comes out of your who.
Wow.
And we have been socialized to believe, I'm writing a book on this, right? We've been socialized to make our do our focus and not our who.
Indeed.
There ought to be a balance. And we do it when we are networking or whatever it is that we're doing. So, hey, Ahmad, you know, what do you do?
Yes, I am a so-and-so.
Right?
As opposed to who are you?
Who is Ahmad?
Wow.
When we are young, we're coming up high school, we have to make all these big life decisions at these early ages. Is another issue, right? We'll say, who do you want to, we don't say, who do you want to be? You know, what do you want to do when you grow up?
Yes.
That's only one dimension. So when you know,
sometimes we even say, what do you want to be?
What do you want to be? That's it.
What do you want to be?
What do you want to be? That's diametrically opposed.
Indeed. Absolutely. We get scientific on you all today.
Because it to me was a revelation that we've been asking the wrong question.
Wow.
What do you want to be?
You cannot be a thing if you're meant to be in purpose and meant to be a person.
Okay.
Wow.
Who do you want to be?
Yes.
What do you want to do?
Wow.
And when you know who you are, then your doing will be an offshoot, an expression of who you are.
Here ends the session. That is it. That is it.
That's it.
That is essentially it.
I'm telling you.
When you figure out who it is that you've been called to be, and you accept the mission, you accept the charge of doing the things that will take you to that place, then your life changes.
That's right.
Wow.
That's right. And then everything you do will be a reflection of who you are. Your stamp will be on it. That becomes your reputation.
Wow.
So if you are a person of excellence, if you are a person with standards, if you have a person with certain values, you have deal breakers that nobody don't cross this line because you can mess with me and my psyche and who I believe I am, right? And then all of that now becomes a reflection. I have a business mentor who says, one level above excellence. That's what we always ought to be shooting for.
Wow.
And ever since, I've always been a particular person when I'm putting things out, because I say, you know, you only have your name.
Yes, yes.
And so I want to make sure that it's at a certain standard. But when he said that, it made me realize that there's sometimes that you even cheat yourself.
Yes, we do. We do.
I could just let that little mistake slide. Nobody can notice that. You know, you just being anal or whatever it is that we say. You know, and now I hear his voice in my head. One level above excellence. Don't let that go like that. Even if you got to start over. Even if you got to go back and download that thing again. Because get it right. That's a part of my who.
Indeed.
That now affects my do. So hopefully that's the reputation that if Simmone is going to do something, she's going to do it well.
Well, absolutely. You know something? I prayed in the year 2020, I said, Lord, I don't want to be connected to anyone that I can't help meet their purpose or isn't assigned to help me to meet mine. And I prayed it because it sounded good, if I'm honest with you. It was a nice prayer. And I felt like Jesus was proud of me in that moment, right? But then it started to happen. And I was like, okay, is this prayer answered or is this me being Ahmad? And I promise you, Simmone, every single person I met from around June of last year was 100% for me to either help them meet their purpose or help me to meet mine. And that is in no uncertain term. No matter what the relationship was, no matter how short or long the conversation, at the end of it, they were connected to purpose or I was connected to my purpose. And it was like a light bulb went off. It was almost as though everything I've prayed for over the last 12 months, here you go. You rocked for it, see it there. And I was like, if it was this easy, I would have been praying fervently,
Yes.
and then doing as a result of my prayer.
Sure.
There you go.
And fervent.
Because we pray for all the things, Lord, I want this and Lord, I want that. And then he says, see it here. Or did you not see this last week? And we'd be like, but that's not how I want it. Oh. So it ain't me.
Okay.
It isn't God. It's us
you.
and our humanity saying, but I wanted it this way and I deserve it this way and I've been toiling for so long.
That's
Toil
right.
one more longer.
That's right.
One more longer toil.
Till you get it.
Till you get it.
Till you
Because it
get
could be
it.
literally right there. But you wanted it right here. Really? When you have figured out who you are, your who affects, am I saying it right?
Yeah.
Affects your do. Because when you know who you are, you will determine what you will no longer do.
That's right.
I could never do this again because of A, B, and C.
That's
and
it.
you just won't.
That's right.
Wow.
Because you made the best decision outside of accepting Jesus
Yes,
Christ.
yes.
Is choosing you.
Wow. And so Simmone Lauren Bowe is someone that realized the magic, the power in choosing herself. She realized who she was, and so everything she did as a result of it manifested into her who-ness, if you will.
Correct.
Who she became and who she continues to become, because as we said it's not a destination, it's more of a journey.
It is a journey.
But every day you take steps to actualize who that person is.
That's right.
Wow.
And every day you see those things that you either must embrace or you must release
Indeed.
about yourself.
Yes.
Every day. And we should make that a part of your routine, your daily routine, whether that if you're a morning person and you like to get up early in the morning or a late night person, you could do it twice a day.
Yes.
Where you have time for reflection and assessment and not to be overly critical because we're very difficult.
Because that's something different.
Correct.
That's the same as the fair, as
Correct.
saying you can't and you shouldn't and you're to this and you're not that enough. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that you need to understand and embrace, experience those emotions.
That's
right. Understand why in this moment you're so anxious. What about
Right.
the circumstance
That's
brings
right.
on the anxiety?
That's right.
Consider the people in the room. Maybe the fact that this individual, which represents the lady on the side of the building vomiting,
Right.
brings on the anxiety.
Right.
It's not the room, it's not the circumstance, it's the thought of the thing that fears me or that keeps me in fear that's stopping me from doing what I should be doing in this moment.
You know what a boss told me one time? She saw me and we had a very difficult senior leader. Very difficult. I mean, the way they speak to you, you know, demeaning,
Right.
abrupt, sometimes insulting or whatever. And she was watching me, observing me for a possible promotion. And the gentleman spoke to me in a certain way. And I kid you not, I just froze in the moment. And it was very difficult for me to express myself in that moment. He just got me off guard. And afterward, and I'm grateful for her doing this, she said, you can't allow him to have that power over you.
Wow.
Because if you're going to function at this next level, you're going to need to be able to interact with this person and other people like him in a confident, calm, assured way. Because otherwise they're not going to take you seriously.
Wow.
And that conversation was a gift.
Indeed.
Because what it revealed to me, because some years before someone told me the same thing. Now, when you change when you are speaking with men.
Yes. Wow.
It's like you shrink. That feedback was a gift. Because I didn't realize the subconscious
Yes.
actions, right? Now that takes me back to several years before to a moment of molestation.
Wow.
At 6 years old. Now watch this now. I'm 50. But an experience from 6 years old was still running my life.
Wow.
So it made me fearful of men and men in authority. Didn't know it, never processed it.
Right.
So I didn't know, and this is not in a romantic relationship. This is work now.
Right, right.
So you may be saying, well, this isn't a romantic situation. This is work. It should be different. No, you are you.
Correct.
And you show up wherever you show up. And so these fears manifested themselves in me in every situation of my life.
Passed through.
Whether that was work, whether that was church, whether that was relationship, whether that was family, what friendships, everything. Because I am the common denominator.
Indeed.
And so many years later now, you're talking about 30, 40 plus years later after this experience, I'm still being impacted. Even after doing the work, even after being self-aware that this is still lingering. But the conversation was a gift because now that was the mirror that I needed in that moment to say, you know what? I need to be more aware.
Yes, yes, yes.
And I need to get to the root of why this is still lingering.
And you know, sometimes those conversations, Simmone, we take them to mean, who she thinks she is?
Right.
Get out of my business. You don't know my story. You don't know me. Listen to me, family. There are people that God sends to you in the moment you need them most. And sometimes he uses the most unlikely people to bring about the change you absolutely needed in this very moment today. Whether you believe that or not is not my concern. What really concerns me is when you decide to listen, to take things as they appear to be in most cases. When those conversations were had with you, they helped you to, over time, realize what it is that actually affected you. It wasn't Mr. So-and-so and his potential, not his potential, but his actual demeaning behavior. It was who that person was and what they did to you and what you didn't experience so long ago.
That's right.
It's the fact that you brought that fear with you into this moment,
That's right.
into your adulthood, into your purpose, and you allowed it to fester. By not embracing that moment, by not deconstructing the moment, it is difficult to do. This isn't a get up in the morning and it's magic. This is actually years of intense, intentional work.
Yes.
But it's required. Because if you allow the thing, the event, to take hold of you, it literally takes hold of you. Right? That's powerful because when you realize that 40 some years later, it was at that moment when I didn't have a voice.
Correct.
When you didn't have the voice.
That's it. That's it.
And that person probably said, don't.
That's
and if
right.
You never,
and if you
I
do,
will.
that is it.
And that goes into your adulthood. Because if I couldn't then, why should I do it now?
It triggered helplessness and powerlessness and voicelessness.
Wow.
You hit the nail right on the head. And that is what I dealt with my entire life.
Wow.
And one thing that I want people to be aware of as well is we have to also be aware of how these fears manifest in our bodies.
Let's talk about that for a minute.
Our fears can literally make us sick.
Wow.
I'll tell you another experience, another gift, right? So I was living in Abaco at the time, and there was some event that we were at. And at the event, they brought in a massage therapist. And she was actually from Jamaica. And I didn't realize this until years later because I have a family member who was a massage therapist. And she told me how that whole thing of transference is very real. And she says that sometimes after a session, based on, touching that person, whatever they were dealing with, whatever.
Wow, is on that.
And she said sometimes she had been physically sick, like
my goodness,
throwing up, whatever, because of taking on whatever she was dealing with the person. So this lady was doing free massages. And so, of course, I went for my session.
Indeed.
Hello, somebody.
Why not? Yes.
Right? And so she's massaging and it's going well, very peaceful and all of this other stuff. She gets to my shoulder area. And I had always had very tense shoulder. Like the muscles would be bunches, tough like rocks.
Right, right.
And so if I ever had a massage, like they always have to spend so much time there.
that
like,
area.
right? So when she got to that area, do you know what she said to me? She said, you need to communicate more.
Wow.
I was undone.
Wow.
Undone. I said, what?
Pardon? Sorry, Mom?
Exactly. That's exactly what I was like. What? She said, you need to communicate more.
Wow.
This is bunched here because you're not expressing yourself.
My goodness. My goodness.
You hear me? So a lot of the illness
that we suffer through,
that we're suffering through, that we are self-medicating. We're
Yes,
talking about these
yes.
headaches. I used to have acid reflux.
wow.
My blood pressure would fluctuate. It's because I be holding things in.
Yes. Let it go.
Let it go. That's what Elsa say.
In this moment, seriously.
Seriously.
Let it go. You have to understand the things you give power to, they become powerful. We don't manifest things because we believe them. We manifest things because we choose to enact them. And so when you make the decisions and you say, you know what, I'm going to keep this one to myself. I'm not going to go to the meeting and be Ahmad today. I have resolved that what you don't want from Ahmad, you don't have to take from Ahmad. But Ahmad will show up as Ahmad wherever he goes. And that's good and that's bad. And I'm working through that. Right? But I want you to know when you let it go, listen, that is what the lady name in the song, Simmone? Elsa. Elsa say, let it go. And she said it, she sang it so beautifully because it's the truth. When you let things go and you let God do what he has been created to do, what he's created you to do in your life, things happen for you naturally. I mean, when I say, I mean as naturally as you breathe in air. And that takes us to my next point some more. I believe that fear is a spirit. I believe that fear is the strongest weapon the enemy has over the human race. Because when he has convinced you that you are nothing and that you cannot and you should not and why would you, and if you do, these horrible things will happen, he wins. And every time the enemy wins, you lose. Fear is not it is a feeling, but it is more so a spirit, and spirits have prominence and they have power. And you talked about transference, and when you lay down with people, I'm going to get very real for a moment, that you have no business laying down with, what they bring to you is left in you. You wonder why you can't sleep in the nighttime and your leg hurting and your back burning and all these things happening because Tom and Susan did look now. Understand what I'm saying to you? Spirits travel and spirits need a host. And when you give that spirit of fear the ability and the power and the residence, when they have permanent residency in your body, then they have the power. I want you to know in this moment that God did not give you a spirit of fear under any circumstance. A spirit of power and love and a sound mind. That means in your mind, whatever you think, so are you. If you think you can't, you won't. That's the bottom line. If you say to yourself, I want to run a marathon, but man, I can't run a marathon, in 1 second, you have squashed the dream. If you say, you know what, I want to run a marathon, I'm going to run from my house to my corner on Monday to this evening. Let me go outside right now and run from my house to my corner. That's a part of your marathon journey. But if you said, I got to go buy tennis, and I got to get from a job, COVID coming, I can't breathe people, I got to wear a mask to run a marathon, the mask so uncomfortable, I don't like these.
Yes.
When are you going to run a marathon?
Never.
How do you know what is on the other side of that marathon for you? How do you know who you would have empowered and impacted and helped on their journey to marathon running if you never ran your marathon? The spirit of fear is real. When you think about Simmone, when you think about the word fear, I define it as a spirit. And I believe that if you give that spirit the power, it will do what spirits do. And the enemy only needs 1 ounce of possibility, and he wins. If you denounce the possibility, however, all is well. You have to do it every day. What do you define fear as, Simmone?
I agree with you. I love that scripture that you quoted, that we have not been given the spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. I think that there's a reason why those three things were chosen in that moment. There's another scripture that says that the enemy is like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Now, I used to teach English. I love English, so I love to pick language apart.
Yes.
So when I hear like a roaring lion, I know that is a simile, which is a comparison. If that scripture had said the enemy is, all right then, you get where I'm coming from.
Maybe they didn't get it. Let's talk about that because they didn't get it.
If that scripture had said the enemy is a roaring lion, seeking whom he will
Shando.
devour.
Yes.
That changes the
Everything.
entire dynamic. Because it means then that he has the power
It's infinite. It's his. It's been given to him.
to do as he wills.
It's correct.
But what it is comparing him to, a roaring lion, so it means he's noisy. And that's what the enemy does.
Yes.
Which
Confuses
messes
you.
with our sound mind. Come on
No,
now.
better take up collection right now. in your front room, in your bedroom, on the back, wherever you are, on your treadmill, on the marathon you're running, take up past the collection plate. Because in this moment, I need you to understand what is happening.
Right?
Simmone.
So he making a bunch of noise.
Yes.
And then we also know the scripture that faith comes by hearing, but hearing what?
The word
Okay.
of God.
So now if we are, as you said, giving all of this credence to these voices, the voice of the enemy of our soul,
Yes.
and we take it in and we believe it.
Yes. We give it a home. We make the bed. Come get some crab and rice.
What?
Come for New Year's and sit over with me. Drink some of my champagne.
Because you
Don't pay no
belong
rent.
here. You belong
It's
here.
your
That's
place.
what
I
you're
was only getting
saying.
it ready for you.
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
Wow.
And it says, seeking whom he may.
May.
That's conditional.
Indeed. Dependent upon you.
Oh,
You.
okay.
When it is that you realize that you are a part of a kingdom, you are a royal priesthood. Like, nope, I got on my shiniest suit today. Okay? I reckon my cameraman dead hard. Because I am a part of a royal priesthood. I've made it to a year when many can't. They are not here. But I was promised to walk in my purpose. I must do the following things. I did those things. I'm now manifesting in the glory of the Father. Because he has given me a spirit of power and love and a sound mind. You have the exact same spirit. You have to denounce the spirit of fear. You have to treat it as though it is the last plague. Treat it like it's COVID.
That's right.
Treat it like it's COVID. Don't be afraid of COVID. Understand what COVID can do to you and take precautions to avoid getting the virus.
That's right.
The very same thing plays true for fear.
That's right.
You can understand what you started by saying that fear is a natural response to when things are wrong. It's an indicator. Something is not right, Ahmad. Be careful.
Right.
Be careful does not mean to cower and to run away.
That's
it means,
it.
hold
It
on
means to
now.
be careful.
Something around here ain't typical.
So I need to adjust.
Let me adjust my surroundings and make the next move.
That's right. And you know, it's so powerful that you talked about royalty because it made me look at how do royals behave?
Yes.
And when you look at, even in our societies today, when you look at it, we watch movies and all these other different things, they act a certain way, don't they?
Yes.
People in royalty, they don't ask permission.
May I please use your...
May I, can I,
How you
they
manage that?
command.
I can need in our...
Do, here, there, I want
Thank
this
you. Thank you.
done. It's a different mindset.
A different mindset. When you make the decision to shift your focus. The trouble is that sometimes we think the focus is somebody else's job to give us. But my mommy said I shouldn't. Yeah, mommy. I really wish that my sister and her boyfriend would elope. Just run away and get married one day. I wish the same for many couples.
Yes.
But my young mommy done been married for 500 years. She went to the altar and she did what she wanted to do, what she saw fit for her. You mentioned it earlier. Why are you putting your vision for the perfect wedding
That's
on
it.
your children.
What does that need in you that you need to have that wedding?
Come on.
It's you. Come on, and be honest and
Let's
real
be
with
honest.
yourself.
My cousin got married at the end of 2020, Simmone, with about 9 people.
Okay, then.
Dressed right down.
Okay.
8. Two of the people was his children. That to me was like, this is what it's about.
This is what it's
Who
supposed to be.
matters to you? What matters to you? Do that.
And you save tons of money to start your new life
Because there
with.
wasn't no food. There wasn't a bunch of car pulling up to the wedding and you got to wait 5 hours for thing of them to get in mind right. Him, his bride, his children, his parents, his siblings, bam.
Okay, then.
And his Grammy.
Okay.
That's it.
All right.
Wedding, they married.
Oh.
Are they any less married than they would have been if they had $500,000 wedding? No. They would have been a little broker. But they are no less married than you, who spent all the money and worry about what everybody else would have said in fear of making your own choices.
That's right.
When you release the power, you release the power of everyone and everything on your life except your will, and you're living in the purpose that God had for you. You have been given, born with, created with the spirit of power. That means power.
Power.
It is yours. It's not something you have to go and borrow and find and search for.
All
It
right.
is within you. Love, that means to love yourself first. You can't love nobody who don't love. Now. And lastly, a sound mind. The devil wants you to be confused and uncertain.
Unstable.
Unstable, because whether it's instability,
Double-minded.
he finds stability.
That's right.
When you, in the same breath, I want to, but I can't, that's the devil.
That's right. And
That's
it gives
the
you that
enemy.
crack
Because
right
he come
in there.
and plant his flag and say, I live here.
That's
you
right.
paying me rent.
That's right.
I don't pay rent on my own body. You better get from around here. I,
Yes.
me.
Yes.
But you have to first realize that and then do everything you have in your power to enact that.
You know what? What was so interesting about that movie, Frozen, we were talking about Let It Go,
Yes,
that
yes,
became
yes.
the anthem of all anthems, right? But when you watch that movie and the character Elsa, when she got to the point of singing that song, what is it that she was letting go?
I didn't
You
watch
remember the movie?
I watch it tonight. This season, I'm going to watch the movie. Help me, though. Help me, someone. Help me.
She was repressing who she really was.
Wow.
She had these powers to shoot and create ice and whatever it was that she was doing, right? Because she didn't understand and know how to use her powers well, she hurt her sister in the process. And so her parents told her, well, you got to cover up, you got to hide this gift, to the point where it even she tried to estrange her sister from her.
Wow.
Because I don't want to hurt you with these powers that I have. So her sister's reaching out. This is Anna. And she's reaching out. She wants a relationship with Elsa. No. I can't have a relationship with you because I'm going to hurt you
Wow.
with these powers that I have. And when she finally unleashed, the effect was great because that the whole kingdom was frozen.
I remember that.
You remember that part?
I did see that part, yes.
And she ran away to this, ice castle or whatever that she made. Everything that she was in, she made for herself.
Wow.
She isolated herself to be herself.
Wow.
She isolated herself. She had to let go of, I can't stop hiding who I am at this point. I just need to figure out how this is now going to gel
Yes,
with,
yes.
right? Being able to be in relationship with other people, because the isolation is not good now. But she needed that time alone.
Self-actualization, self-awareness.
Right.
Searching for who you are.
Right.
Understanding your who so you can do.
Correct.
Yes.
And so that's what she did. She's like, I have to be full out in this thing.
Yes.
Because hiding it and repressing it is still not making me happy.
It's not. Wow.
I'm cutting people off that I really love. I don't want to do that. She needed to understand herself and then learn how to manage herself and the power that she had. Now that's fictional.
Indeed.
I think a whole lot of sorcery and everything, but that's a different story, right? But I think the lesson in it is so important for us. That who is so important.
Absolutely.
And we can't be afraid of it. You know, Marianne Williamson had that quote that everyone loves to quote, that it is our greatness that we fear. It is our light that we are afraid to let shine too bright.
Wow.
Why? Because Gamad think I brighter than him.
Yes. Who is Ahmad?
Get your
To your light.
shades. Get your
Put
shades,
and give a
Ahmad.
big hat. Fine, I want you to stand under because my friend, my light is about to shine.
Okay, then.
Wow.
So even where we may have the fear of failure and perfectionism and all of those things, right? We also have the fear of success.
Indeed.
The fear of shining too bright. What am I going to lose? Who am I going to lose when I become so successful?
Indeed.
And success is relative. I don't want us to be mistaken that success
This
is
many
a lot of
dollars and this
money.
many cars and-
No, we are successful when we are who we were
Correct.
created to be.
Correct.
That is the ultimate success.
Wow.
And so the people around you who are telling you, don't do this, don't go to college, don't get that job, don't quit your job, all of these things that they're telling you not to do
Quit that
is
job,
for
yeah.
their comfort,
Correct.
not about you.
Indeed.
It's because they don't want to shift to accommodate who you really are. It's easier for them for you to be
Who they say you should be. Who they told you all your life you had to be. Wow.
because that's comfortable and
Indeed.
familiar.
And that to me is what people have done for centuries.
Yes.
We have allowed, who am I to present my full self to you? Who am I? You speak when you're spoken to. We hear from your children.
Yes.
You speak when your children are to be, ladies are to be seen and not heard. And
That's right.
why can't you be big and bold and just everything?
Yes.
Why can't you? Who says you shouldn't?
Right.
It's all about how you do what you're going to do. But at the same time, when you give the people, we talked about power and the facing of your fear this entire time together. Because when you face the fear, it no longer becomes something you can be fearful of. When you hide from the fear and you say, this fear has the power over me, that's when the fear says, good, I still home. I still could move things around in here because this is my place.
Yeah.
But you have to realize that by doing so, you would have given the world less of you and given this fear more of the power.
That's right.
So Simmone, as we wrap this up, right? Because you and I can talk for I think about
Listen.
a year and 2 weeks if we're left to our own vices, right? But Simmone, you are the limitless life coach, right? How important is it to live life limitlessly, and how do our audience accomplish this?
Oh, being limitless is, I think, our divine destiny. It is a realization. It is a mindset that we understand that there are no limits, that all possibilities are around us, within us, everywhere. And it is a mindset where we think abundance. And I'm not talking again about materialism. Very simple. Someone may tell you, well, Ahmad, and you just say you have a job and you have a company too. So why you need to be doing
How
all
much
of
things
that?
you want to do?
How much things you want to do? You always mix up in something.
Yes.
That's the scarcity limited mindset that says either or.
Yes, you can't have both.
You can't have both.
One or the other. Choose which you will have.
Right.
Wow.
But when you are limitless, you understand that there are options for everything, there are possibilities for everything, that there are things that you have the capacity for
Yes.
that you should do.
Indeed.
Why can't you?
Why not?
Who says that you shouldn't?
Wow.
And so this is the message that I want to share with people, that do it. I remember doing a career coaching session with someone, and she was sharing her dream. She was in a job that she was good at, but she was tired of it.
Wow.
And she wanted to make a change. And she had taken some action steps. She went back to school and all of that. And she said, I want to leave my job. And sometimes people want the validation and they want the
Go
approval.
ahead, you should.
Go ahead, go
So
leave your
if I did
job.
my job and it don't work out,
That's her fault.
I should.
Right? So we talked about that. Okay, prepare your exit strategy.
Yes.
If this is something you're passionate about, you really feel this is what you want to do, prepare yourself to do that. give yourself a time frame and work toward it.
Yes.
So she said, well, I give myself until the end of 2020. I'm like, okay, does everything in your life, because sometimes we can operate out of emotion and we could be frustrated and say, you know what? Forget y'all,
yes.
I am out of here.
Yes.
And then we suffer because we haven't prepared properly. So she's like, yeah, we've thought about this. I have these things in place. I'm ready to rock and roll. Maybe about 2 months afterward, she sent me a message and she said, you know, I made the decision. I put in my resignation. She said, do you know, within a week of me leaving that job, I saw another job that was more aligned with where I'm going. I applied. I got in the second round. I fulfilled those requirements. I got the job.
Wow.
Within 1 week of leaving. And with not knowing, not being completed with schooling and all of that other stuff, she got it.
Wow.
But she had to believe enough. And it was the belief that made her limitless.
Wow.
And now she's in a place now where
Can't stop her.
you can't stop her now.
Unstoppable.
She has tapped into just a fraction
Of her
of
potential.
her limitlessness.
Wow.
So she's going to go after bigger things for herself as she desires them. And praise and whatever else that we do to prepare ourselves for these things that we have on the inside of us to do. That's what being limitless is all about for me. And I believe that it is very simple: faith and work.
Yes.
Understanding who we are, our who, our divine nature. Who were you when you were born? That person that was already identified from your mother's womb,
Yes.
who was intentionally sent to this planet at this time, at this location. God is very strategic.
Indeed.
You're meant to be here. So you got to figure out your why, figure out your who,
Indeed.
get
So you can
about your do
You got it. Indeed.
in a very limitless way. And being limitless means that you're not fettered by all of these things that hold us back, all of these barriers that we either create or that we accept and allow, as we talked about earlier on.
Absolutely.
That's what limitless means to me. You break barriers, you amplify, you shine, use your voice to be an influence and an impact in your circle, whatever your circle of influence is, whatever that may be, whether that's education, whether that's business, whether that is civil society, community, politics, religion, whatever it is, whatever your sphere of influence is, you need to get in there and impact it
Indeed.
at the full capacity of your potential. But it starts with all those little steps, and they all add up to you living full out.
Absolutely. So, family, we've spent the last several minutes speaking about facing your fear. We have uncovered that it is not a destination, but it's a journey. In order to do this, you have to understand, relieve yourself of what I consider a fixed mindset and adopt a growth mindset. Walk into your kingdom mindset. You are a royal priesthood. You are indeed a part of a kingdom. As a kingdom citizen, you can call shots. You can stop and start. You can announce something and it should happen because of the conviction already given to you by the word and the will of God. When you allow the people, the circumstances, the things around you to dictate who you should become, they win. When you realize your true purpose and you walk in that true purpose, you win. The kingdom wins and they celebrate with you. You have to understand that the words you speak become manifested deed. You cannot say one thing and see another if you didn't speak life into what it is that you wanted to accomplish. Today is the day, now is the moment When you realize that through your words come your actions. What you give power to is what you speak life into. When you speak life into negative things happen. I can't win the race. Guess what? You will not win the race. I won't get the job. You won't get the job. I can't lose this weight. You won't lose the weight. Whatever it is that you are facing right now, you have to realize that when you speak life into that, then it starts to happen. When you realize your who, you can then do your do. That is a Simmone L Bowe quote. Don't thief it, don't steal it. We're coming for you if you do. Inaction is the enemy of progress. You have to today decide to start. In whatever state you find yourself in no matter the circumstance, no matter the person that you believe you are, they say you are, you have to start today. The time is now. The only way to shift into focus is to face those fears, to call them by name and to demoralize them. You have to take away their power. You have been given the spirit of power and love and a sound mind. You have the power, you have the authority to break those chains through your words. Your actions then have to match your words. It has been such a delight to have been joined by Simmone today. Simmone, it's a pleasure to connect with you. I remember when this conversation was just that, a conversation, and now we've done it. Yes. You and I have put our foot to the fire, we put our faith to work, and we've created something great, something that someone, somewhere, is going to be impacted by, if only the two of us, right? This process was healing for both of us. And we hope that together with our conversation, the things that we revealed, the things that you discovered about yourself, are going to help you to now shift into focus. Thank you so much for joining us today. I look forward to seeing you in the next session when we talk about opportunities versus obstacles. Thank you so much. Speak your purpose, speak your truth, and shift into focus.